God's name is glorified in all the earth, isn't it? Amen. Everywhere. What a joy it is to know that this church is involved in so many different areas, all over the earth. And God's name is being lifted up. God's name is being glorified in all the earth because of all the believers everywhere who are lifting up the name of Jesus. And we're just thankful to be just a small part of that. Well, we have had a hand in helping to start this children's village in Uganda, and we've been involved in it for many years now. And it's just been a wonderful, wonderful blessing to be a part of that work. And we're grateful to have Sean and Primrose here. This was their sort of dream child, their vision, God's calling on their lives to start this. And we're just so grateful that we have been able to be a part of this from this very, very get-go, from the very beginning of it, to see it grow and to see what they've been able to do with God's help through that. So we're grateful today, Sean and Primrose, for you guys and for all that you've done and all that you're doing and all that you will do, all that God will do through you. And we're excited today to just be a part of this. So let's pray and we'll get started. God, just bless what they're about to share with us. We're excited to be a part of this ministry. We're excited for all the lives of individuals, especially the children, whose lives are impacted in a powerful way, of eternal way, because of what John and Primrose and others have invested, and everyone here has invested in the work there in Uganda. God, thank you. And just stir our hearts today as we hear more about that work, what's going on there, the plans that are being made for the future, how you're working there. Stir our hearts, work in us. Stir up in us a desire to be as involved as we possibly can, financially, materially, and personally, in prayer, in every way we can, to lend support to this ministry that's making such a difference in that part of the world, and even here. So God, we praise you. Bless them as they speak to us today. In Jesus' name.
This is our 10th year of Mission Sundays. And we are so glad to have so many people here connected with Sean and Primrose and their family and friends, and a colorful congregation today. I like what John Piper says in his book, Let the Nations Be Glad. It's just something to think about as we hear today. A cross-cultural movement to help people. Missions is a cross-cultural movement to help people stop making much of themselves and start making much of God. And missions is a cross-cultural effort to transform people's hearts so that they can see and feel God as more praiseworthy than sports or a movie star or the latest technological advance or whatever it is that is competing with God. Russ already brought up that we've had 3 wonderful Mission Sundays this month. We had another one last May when Joe Mahasi came down from the Christian Discipleship Center. We give 2 scholarships to the students there in Cortez, and he brought one of the students with him that had overcome alcohol addiction and had come to Christ. And we took up a collection at that time and gave $1,700. The church didn't even know about that, but that's what was taken up that morning. I just love this church. You all are so giving and grateful and loving. And as Russ said, we've been to talked about our local work here. We talked about Latin America, in Panama. We talked about Asia, Chinese work, and the Navajo Reservation. So today we're going to Africa with Sean and Primrose, and they will share with us about the work that they're doing with the Kirunji Children's Home. For those who don't know the story or the beginnings of this work, I want to tell you that we're praying that God would show us how this church was praying, how God wanted us to use what we have, our talents, abilities, money, and everything, for the millions of orphans in Africa. And just a few weeks later, Sean and Primrose showed up at our church. That's how it started. Her father had given land for an orphanage in Uganda, and they were looking for a sending church and supporting church. They worshiped with us for a couple of years. We found them to be full of integrity, and we wanted to help. I did talk to several people that have known Sean for 10 to 15 years, and they could not say enough good about him. He's just, they said, had great spiritual principles and knew the scriptures. One friend had been praying with Sean for years about the orphanage that God had given him a dream about or a vision about to build an orphanage in Uganda. And he highly recommended Sean and Primrose and said that they stick it out when others would give up. Primrose, as a child, always wanted to help needy children from when she was very young. So God brought them together with their desires to take care of needy and abandoned children. And we at Cross Timber sent them on their way to Uganda in 2009 with our prayers and support. And I'll let Sean take it from here.
Good morning. Good. Okay. Well, I think I can just sit down. Thank you, Linda. So we have a lot of ground to cover in a short amount of time. We'll try to get you out of here as close to 11. I know there's probably lunch plans, some kind of game this afternoon, things like that. So let me begin with Ephesians 3:20, part of that verse. Now unto him, unto God, that is able to do exceeding abundantly above all that we ask or think.
$50 million orphans, 12 million AIDS orphans. Staggering are such statistics for the continent of Africa. Narrow down to Uganda, and the statistics remain overwhelming. In this small country, which is about the size of the state of Oregon, there are 2.5 million orphans, about half who have been orphaned due to at least one parent dying from AIDS. Numbers such as these are difficult to grasp, even paralyzing, and can lead someone to wonder what one person can do to confront such an overwhelming need. The reality is, one person, or even a group of people, cannot begin to address the needs of all of the AIDS orphans in Africa, let alone Uganda. However, we can address the orphan crisis one child at a time. Responding to what has been referred to as one of the greatest humanitarian crises of our time, Sean and Primrose Cox founded Bread of Life African Ministries and opened Kairunji Children's Village to provide a home environment not only for the orphan children, but for abandoned and vulnerable children as well. It became unacceptable for me to sit idly by living in the United States while children in my own country were terribly suffering, says Primrose. I felt I could no longer ignore the plight of vulnerable children in Uganda. Imagine seeing a brother or sister who are 3, 5 years old on a bus. You hear the person traveling with them tell them she's going to go get them a snack and come right back, and she never returns. Imagine walking alongside a dusty road on your way to work early one morning, and you hear something crying. You approach the cries only to find that a baby has been carelessly thrown beside the road. Imagine seeing a 2.5-year-old girl who cannot stand because she is so malnourished and is locked inside her house while her mother goes on her way for the day. Then, imagine a place where all the children are smiling, running, dancing, and playing. Children who have received a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of spirit of despair. That place is Kairunji Children's Village, a place where all children are welcome, even if they have HIV or a disability. Each child comes to Kairunji with a unique, heartbreaking story. However, as children enter the gate of the village, healing and restoration begins. God cares for the vulnerable, and that is the reason why we are here in Uganda and open Kairunji, to share God's love and care with those the world has discarded or those who have been dealt hard life circumstances. Located 4 miles outside of Kabale, a small rural town in southwest Uganda, Kairunji Children's Village provides a home environment for abandoned, orphaned, and vulnerable children where physical, emotional, educational, and spiritual needs are met. Children eat 3 nutritious meals a day, along with a morning and afternoon snack, sleep in their own beds, and wear a variety of clothes. Bread of Life provides on-site nursery education, and older children go to school right above the village. Children attend chapel services on Sunday and enjoy a buffet afterwards. Built on several acres of land given to Primrose by her late father, Kairunji has 2 homes housing 8 to 10 children each with a house mother or house parents. Kairunji, which means beautiful or good, is currently home to 17 children ranging in age from 3 to 12 years old. 3 of the children are HIV positive, but they're on medication and doing well. About half of the children who come to Kairunji have been abandoned. Even simple things as receiving a small toy, a pair of sunglasses, slippers, or a blanket bring incredible joy to Kairunji children. The mission of Bread of Life encompasses impacting the local community as well. This is the reason why we hired local builders and only employ natives. Kairunji is backed by an all-Ugandan staff of 8 full-time people and 2 part-time people. 2 of the women we employ are single mothers, and another woman is the main wage earner for her house. And our committed staff is just as appreciative to receive gifts as the children are. In addition to operating children homes, Bread of Life is developing its community outreach program, providing in-home assistance to children who reside in loving homes, but whose basic needs are not met. To date, 15 children have received financial assistance for school fees and supplies and had their basic needs met. Kairunji only exists because of financial support, love, and prayers from caring people. Our children are blessed when people come to visit them or send gifts and letters. Though separated by thousands of miles, bonds are formed between our supporters and Kairunji children.
Dear Blessing, I'm so happy to be able to write to you. You have such a beautiful name. I'm a friend of Primrose and Sean, and they have shared with me how special you are. Although you are across the world from me, I would like for you to know that you are not only special to the people around you that love you very much, but you are special and one of the kind to God, and He loves you most of all. You are becoming such a beautiful young lady, and I can't wait to see what your future holds for you. God bless you, and know that the Lord is with you every step of the way. Oh, my love, Teresa, and Living Faith Fellowship.
What an exciting 6 years it's been. Since opening our doors in November of 2010, 29 children have called Kairunji home and have been given hope for a brighter future. 6 of the children who have stayed at Kairunji have been resettled with their family members, and another 6 have been adopted by loving families in the United States. Children who were once in great despair, having no hope, and some who were on the verge of dying, are now thriving, living with caring relatives in the loving adopted family or at Kairunji. Children rescued, restored, and transformed. That is what Kairunji is all about. You can have a part in saving a life of an afflicted child. Your financial support is urgently needed as Bread of Life continues rescuing and caring for these children. By partnering with us, you give tangible help to children who call Kairunji home and those who receive in-home assistance. Your support literally saves lives. Children on the verge of starvation are nourished back to health. Children severely abused are brought into a loving home and given the assurance they will not be mistreated again. Children abandoned with nowhere to go, no one to turn to, are rescued from the streets and given the comfort of a home environment where they are loved and cherished. Without your support, we would not be able to rescue children, save lives, and raise future leaders. One child at a time, you're helping to transform not only a life, but a community and even a nation. Please partner with us and help change the world by changing the course of a child's life from a life of despair to one of hope great possibility. Give hope to a child in need. Make a donation today and join our monthly support team. Monthly supporters receive special updates, photos, and letters from the children.
Isn't God great? Isn't this church wonderful? All of what you have seen, children laughing, dancing, singing, and playing, is because of you, this church. It is amazing what God has done and is doing through you at Kabrunji. Lives rescued, restored, and transformed. That is what we are all about. All we can say is thank you, and to ask God to bless you for your kindness and generosity. As we look back on the last 6 years since we opened the doors to Kabrunji, we are in awe of what we have seen and been a part of. Lives transformed before our eyes. It was May 2011. We had been open just for 6 months and had brought in 5 children, Joseph, Alex Namanya, and Kato and Kakuru. But we still had room to welcome more children into the love and warmth of Kabrunji. The district social worker called us. She told us about a brother and sister who needed a loving home. We immediately jumped into our RAV4 and headed into town. We found a 4-year-old boy and 3-year-old girl speaking a language from a different region in Uganda. 2 precious kids who had no one to care for them. This broke our hearts, but also made us feel very grateful that God had called us to rescue children such as these. These kids had no choice but to entrust their lives into the hands of total strangers. One who happened to be a Mzungu, or a white person. Without resisting, they came with us and got into the back of the vehicle, and we were on our way to Kabrunji, their new home. They had no idea what their future held. We had no idea what their future held. 3 years later, in August 2014, a mission team from Northern Ridge Baptist Church came to Kabrunji. During their time at Kabrunji, a special bond was formed between the youth pastor of the church and 2 of our kids. In just 15 months, these kids would be traveling to a foreign land. Reminiscent of them climbing into the back of the RAV4, they boarded a plane with the youth pastor, now their adoptive father, to go to a place they had never been before and to be welcomed into a new, loving family. It is now with tremendous joy in my heart and awe of what God has done for these 2 precious lives that we can present to you today that 4-year-old boy and 3-year-old girl, who of course are much older now, Uriah Gift and Selah Knight. Primrose, please come up with Uriah and Selah and have them say hello to the church. A few weeks ago, I had the privilege of going to watch Uriah play flag football, which he says is now his favorite sport. Right, Gift? Yep. Okay. As I stood in the Colorado sun on another warm October day, watching Selah play with her new siblings and Uriah play a sport that months prior he knew nothing about, my mind drifted back 5 years earlier. I couldn't help but to become emotional as I thought about that day. When a seemingly scared little boy and girl climbed into the back of the vehicle, not knowing what life had in store for them. God took them from Kampala, the bustling capital city in Uganda, to Kabale, a small rural African town, to Thornton, Colorado. Isn't God good? Isn't God amazing? I am in awe and still cannot believe that God has brought them not only to America, but to my home state of Colorado. Uriah and Selah, you are two special people that God loves, that we love, and that this church loves. God has a wonderful plan for your life. Again, Ephesians 3:20, now unto him that is able to do exceeding abundantly above all that we can ask or think, according to the power that worketh in us and in you. Primrose, while you're up here, please share a couple of stories about Kirunji children who have been rescued and given hope for a brighter future.
I hope I can do this.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm overjoyed today for family, and I'm praising God. First of all, let me introduce you to my sister, Sharon. Sharon, could you please stand up? That's Sharon, my sister. Her husband, Stratus, is also here. And they have 3 kids. Jason is 15. I think he went to the teens. Ananda is 14, and Solomon is 12. So we thank you. It has been 13 years in the making. When I became an American citizen, 2 of the things which are a privilege is to vote, number 1. Then number 2, you can petition for your family to become residents. So it has been 13 years, so we are praising and thanking God today. I thank you, Samuel, for being part of this village. Back home, when Samuel is there, when he's back at the home, he's surrounded by all these kids. They run after him and they want him to talk to them, and they love him, they like him. When I was coming back, this time they said big hugs and love to Daddy Shan and Samuel. Then one of the house moms said, by the time we see Samuel again, I think he would have a wife. I said, no, by the time yeah, thank you. Also, we have family, Christoph and Abby. They're always here to support us. Thank you, Ugandan friends who have come, Diana and the other friends, Susan and her husband, Jeff. Thank you for being here. You have come to see what God is doing in Uganda. Then our kids, Uriah and Sarah, we always love you. You always be our kids. Then we have some friends from other churches. Cindy, thank you for being here. We thank you, church, very much. Greetings from Uganda, greetings from Kabale, and greetings from Kirunji Children's Village. Let me talk about 2 of our kids. Jeremiah. Jeremiah came to us to be 2 years in March. Jeremiah, when he came to us, his tummy was bulging and he had sores in the mouth. He had been circumcised but hadn't healed, so he was at a risk of an infection. He's HIV positive. He didn't smile, he stayed in one place, he didn't talk. He didn't play at all. 3 months later, there was some improvement because we took him to the hospital and put him on a formula. 7 months later, he was okay. He's 3.5-year-old now. He's one of our happiest kids. He's outstanding and friendly. He has wisdom. He's loving and he's an intellectual. He perceives situation. He has a big heart. For example, One time, Anne, who sits in for us when we are not there, she came to the home. 17 kids, everybody was running and just be happy to see her. This 3.5-year-old kid, he went in the house, grabbed a chair, it was as big as he was, brought it for Anne to sit on. So we think he's an amazing. While I was back, I was in the storage doing some cleaning where the folders are and the files and everything. So there was dust. So dust was on my dress. This Jeremiah, 3.5-year-old, I didn't know he was even around me. He comes around me and he's dusting my dress. I'm like, we couldn't have asked for. He's amazing, and I think God is going to use him mightily. Then we have Tumuhimbise. His Tumuhimbise nickname Katu, because he's so tiny. He also came to us like 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. With his brother, we think he's the brother, and he was supposed to leave in 1 week, but 2 years he's still with us. So when I was back this time, he's like, Mom, they call me Mommy, I want to go home. I'm like, home where? He's like, at a green gate near church in Mbarara. And Mbarara, that's where Stratus and Sharon come from. And that's where they came from. I'm thinking, what is this boy talking about? So after 1 hour, Mom, I want to go home. So in talking with the Anne and the intern we had, they had gone to Mbarara to look for his home, which was near the church in Mbarara with a green gate, but they couldn't find a home. So it is so funny, what a coincidence. So what happened, whoever had them in Kabale town, they were staying at a restaurant which was near All Saints Church, which has a green gate. So I think he's remembering. So one of my favorite projects when I was there, I gave each kid a piece of paper like this. I said, write something from your heart. I separated them, I scattered them in the yard and everywhere. I didn't want them to be copying each other. I wanted to hear their story, what they think. I said, what do you think about Kirunji? How is your life? What do you want to be in the future? Just write something. So everybody wrote, in the back you read their stories, they are writing, oh, we like Mama and Daddy, we love Kirunji because we have food, we have school uniform and all that. This same child, Tumuhimbise, known as Katu, this is what he drew. He called it a church. There's a cross. So I'm like, this makes sense to me. This is a church. He knows his home is near a church or where he came from. And this is church. So I'm thinking in my heart, we have failed to find the parents of this boy. We have tried like 3 times. So to me, how I interpreted it, his home. This is church. When his church, he finds Jesus, he has eternal life in his home. So this is my favorite. I thought I would share that with you. So that is good. Yeah, what time is it? Okay. So I know many of you always ask me, why do children end up without parental care? So these are some of the reasons why in Uganda kids end up without care. Abandonment of children by parents is 1. Neglect and abuse of children is 2. Extreme poverty. Domestic violence, political instability, severe disability drives abandonment. If a parent has a child who is severely disabled, they'll abandon them. They'll be ashamed of them. We have death of parents or no next of kin. We have natural disasters like floods and landslides, teenager mothers who cannot care for their kids. We have severely mentally unstable ill mothers who give birth in the hospital and they just leave the baby there. Children of rape, children of incest. Just to mention a few, HIV positive like we saw in the video. So the Ministry of Gender, Labour, Social Development is the ministry which cares for children in Uganda. They have come up with an alternative care framework where their main goal is to reduce the number of children in homes. They want children to be reunited back to their parents. They want them to have kinship care. They want to be community-based, alternative, fostering domestic adoption. That's what they are aiming at. However, I have news for them. There are so many gaps. Like the government has no capacity to monitor and regulate and coordinate. There's no legal framework, support still lacking. There's no community sensitization, like telling them, we need to adopt these kids at Kirunji. Can you come adopt these kids? Can you come foster them? Nothing's there. There's no capacity building of the district staff. There's no one responsible. There's no establishment or coordination of national foster care. So I say all that to say, Kirunji Children's Village is still here and will be here for a while. Many of the kids we have will be calling Kirunji their home for a long time. Thank you.
As I said, we had a lot of ground to do. There's just a few minutes left, so let me just give a few highlights to support what you saw and heard in the video. Through your love and support, 29 children, just like Uriah and Selah, Jeremiah and Innocent, have been rescued and called Kirunji home over the last 6 years. Of the 29 children, as you saw, 6 have been resettled with their families, 6 have been adopted to the U.S., and 17 currently reside at Kirunji. As shown in the video, all is going well, and all are doing well at Kirunji, both children and staff. We have had relative little illness in the last year, and as the video said, our 3 HIV-positive children are on medication and doing well. Linda, I think the Spirit is working this morning. I kind of had some reminiscent remarks of our relationship with Cross Timbers, so I'll just kind of let that stand. But this has been a 9-year journey for this church, as Linda said. It was 2007 when Primrose and I happened to come across the church with the unique name, Cross Timbers. I remember the first day we attended vividly. After the service, we came across a lady by the name of Linda. After sharing a little about us and our desire to start a ministry in Uganda focused on rescuing and caring for children, as Linda said, she proceeded to tell us, our church has been praying how we can get involved in the AIDS orphan crisis in Uganda. Wow, could this be a God thing, I thought? And so we fast forward. I just want to give a couple of quick updates to touch on a couple of things. We have previously shared about the Ugandan government's change in policy, their focus of moving away from permanent children's homes where children would grow up in the homes to transitional homes where a rescued child would be in a home for up to 2 years, during which time they are to be resettled with family or placed in a foster or adoptive home. In May, we shared with you that the Ugandan Parliament passed changes to the country's adoption laws that would require foreigners to live in Uganda for 1 year before they could adopt, and that the bill was on the President's desk. It is with great disappointment that we have that the President did sign the bill into law. Since the law now requires a 1-year residency requirement, we have curtailed our international adoption efforts. However, as we move forward, we are now focusing more on trying to resettle children with their families and finding adoptive homes in Uganda, which is challenging because adoption is not common there. However, as Primrose said, some of our children will not be able to be resettled with family due to poor home environments, and other children have been abandoned, so we are not able to trace their families. Local officials do acknowledge that some children will grow up in children's homes, as Primrose said. For those children who remain at Kirunji, through your ongoing support, we will continue providing a loving home as we have done the last 6 years. We are assessing conditions in our area, such as looking at the number of other children's homes, to determine whether there is a need for us to build another home. Resettling and adopting our children opens up business and allows us to rescue more children. As such, there may not be the same need to build an additional home and to focus on it, and we will begin to focus on expanding our in-home assistance program as we place more children into families outside of Kirunji. Just to make a few concluding remarks. I heard and read somewhere, and I'm sure you have as well, a quote that goes something like, what can the world see? One man, one woman, one church who is yielded to God, what God can do from them, through them. I think you have seen that this morning. We will be rolling out some new plans in the coming year as we assess what is going on in Uganda. As we look at our community, we may in fact build another home. We'll be talking with our board about the possibility of building a medical clinic there for our children, and then also to benefit the community as well. So we'll be talking more about that in the future. You are a blessing to us and to the children we serve, both at Kirunji and in their homes, and to our staff at Kirunji and others. You have literally saved lives. Your support has enabled us to rescue children who would have died, yes, died, or continue to live in dire living conditions. Please help us continue the journey. We still need you. It takes about $15,000, $12.50 a month to cover direct expenses at Kirunji for a year, home and food expenses, and paying salaries. It takes about another $13,000 to cover expenses, such as educational expenses, agricultural expenses. We grow a lot of our own food on site, medical expenses, and utilities. Last year, Cross Timbers as a church, and Cross Timbers members through the church and giving directly to Bread of Life gave over just $26,000 last year. Our goal this morning would be to match that or even exceed that in one-time gifts and monthly commitments. You can have a part in saving the life of an afflicted child. And I just had someone communicate with me this morning that they will be continuing their support, and that will be $3,600 next year. So we are well on our way. Once again, I close with Ephesians 3:20. Now unto him, unto God, that is able to do exceeding abundantly above all that we ask or think, according to the power that worketh in us. Unto him be glory in the church, I would say through this church, by Christ Jesus, throughout all ages, world without end. Amen. As I said, we'll be rolling out some new plans in the coming year. We're also updating our printed materials. Thank you to Scott. We have a wonderful video now. And so we're excited about the future. We'll be sharing more as we develop our plans and confirm our plans as well. Right now what we're trying to do is to have our monthly support and periodic support from this church cover our ongoing expenses. So then other donations that come in, we can plan for another home or for a medical clinic or expand our outreach in the community. It sounds so simple, so trite, but all I can say once again